If I ever wanted to knock somebody at NBC, I'd go like, they're operating like Seinfeld is still on. But it ain't 1997 anymore, right? We are in a new world. It's the content, man. I could be in a closet. Give me half decent lighting. It's the content that matters.
G'day, I'm Lachlan Cartwright. Welcome back to the Breaker Pod. We are roaring back for season 2, and we are at the Built Cafe in downtown Manhattan. You can earn points for paying your rent and spending in your local neighborhood. Built now has more than 5 million members, and you go to built.com and become a member. Today we have a very special guest who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him a little one in any event. Coming up to 2 decades, Morning Joe has been the Beltway's unofficial breakfast club. It's part salon, it's part scoreboard, it's even part therapy session for the establishment. And Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski have outlasted presidents, network rebounds, and the show still maintains its position as appointment to view television. It's the #1 morning show in the DC market. And Joe Scarborough joins me now. G'day, Joe. Almost 2 decades on, how do you still keep the show as relevant as it is, considering how quickly the news agenda moves on?
Well, I mean, I've got to add Willie Geist to that. You know, the funny thing is, it's Mika, Willie, and myself. We've been doing this.
It's like an MJ family almost.
It is. And that's how we do it. I mean, it's like, you know, people always ask early on, how long have you guys been working together? So, well, we just kind of got on set, and it worked. It's a great combination, and we love getting together. We love being together, and so I'll be honest with you, I'm a little over waking up at 4 in the morning.
Do you see yourself doing it for another 20 years?
Yeah, not another. You know, if I'm alive in 20 years, that's great. You know, I mean, I
think the same thing every day I wake up.
We'll take it a year at a time, but the great thing is that no matter how exhausted we are when we wake up, and I've been saying this for 19 years, when we get on set, when I get on set, Alex, my AP, will tell you usually 30 seconds before the show starts, we turn around, we look at each other, we laugh. You know, Willie and I will joke about something that's in the New York Post or a sports event or something.
Or a break of media.
Especially now, break of media. And then we just, you know, we just
give a
take
chin
off.
wag.
And we just talk and have a good time. And give our insights, and it's a lot of fun.
It's been a big week for MSNBC. The first sort of stage of this, spinoff is happening.
Right.
I watched the show today. You now have your own correspondents. MS has their own correspondents. You
Right.
were previously relying on NBC news gathering.
Yep.
How has that build out been? And talk to me about those changes and what you're seeing.
You know, I think 5 years ago. I think 5 years ago, if you asked me, I go, we're going to see how this. The media landscape right now, it's the Wild West. Look what you've done, right? You're taking off. I mean, being entrepreneurial is rewarded now. So what does it mean to be CNN? What does it mean to be CBS News? What does it mean to be NBC or MSNBC? I don't know. It means whatever Barry Weiss and people at CBS News decide that means over the next 2, 3, 4 years. You look at CNN. Who knows? Are they, where are they going to be 3, 4, 5?
Where do you think they will
it's
be
not,
in 3 or 4?
Well, it all depends. It depends on who the entrepreneurs are. Well, it depends, first of all,
who the owners are.
Are they entrepreneurial?
Right.
Or are they going to have a corporate mindset? If they have a corporate mindset, they're going to look a lot like Eastman Kodak did in upstate New York as it withered away on the vine. It's going to look a lot like a lot of old industries. You've got to be entrepreneurial. You've got to constantly be looking around the corner. You can't go by the old benchmarks to say, oh, well, this was a success in 1996 or 1997. You know, it's so funny. A lot of people in these big corporations, if I ever wanted to knock somebody at NBC, or MSNBC, I'm not knocking NBC here, I would say...
Sure, you can if you want.
I go like, they're operating like Seinfeld is still on.
Right. Great show.
Great show. But it ain't 1997
Right.
anymore, right? We are in a new world, and I love the proof's always in the pudding. What What have you done? If you put out a great newsletter tomorrow that I read and I go, holy shit, I got to read that the next day.
That's the reaction I hope for every week,
well,
Joe.
I know, but you get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. And you know, pre-COVID, I was telling Phil Griffin, because he was like, you know, you need to be in 30 Rock around it. I was like, Phil, it's the content, man. I could be in a closet. Give me half-decent lighting. It's the content that matters. It's what you tell people. It's the story you tell people.
It's the cracking yarns.
Exactly. It's like, are you telling me something
that I don't already know?
That I don't know. Are you going to give me insight from your newsletter that I'm going to look at and go, and if you do, then it's not like 99% of the, and by the way, you do, it's not like 99% of the newsletters where I read it like 3 or 4 days and I go, they're telling me nothing new. And then it's gone. So that's the same thing for MS Now. It's the same thing for CBS News. It's the same thing for all of these people that are in the media right now. Do they tell people something that, you know,
they don't already know?
They don't already know.
And maybe make them laugh at something they do know, which is sort of the
exactly.
The breaker mantra. Your show has a deep connection to its audience. You have a big event at the weekend, MSNBC Live 25 in Manhattan. Yeah. What changes will the audience see, do you think, with MS in this kind of transition to Vossons?
I mean, nothing. I mean, seriously. People that watch our show, they're not going to sit there and go, well, I don't know. Joe's getting his paycheck from Versant now versus Comcast.
Right.
They don't care. It's like, do we show up every morning? Are we engaged? Are we excited to be there? Are we telling them something they don't know? Or are we giving them an insight? A lot of times it's just like people want to know, what does Willie have to say about it? What's Mika have to say? How's Mika going to roll her eyes at Joe today?
I was watching for that this morning. I almost did a count. I think we were up to half a dozen.
What joke is Willie going to do? We had last week, I forget. And that's what's so funny. People will say, like, it'll be like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. They'll go, oh, God, I loved your show. I go, oh, really? Who was on? Because we do 4 hours of content a day, right? So you don't remember. But I was like with Mika, like a couple nights ago, I said to Mika, I go, what did we do last week? Like, the New York Post did this thing. Like, I was like, they had a freeze frame. I was going,
yeah, I saw that. What was that?
I can't remember, right? But Mika was rolling her eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Retro Morning Joe, because that's how it used to be. I forget what it was.
I feel like you filmed Media, you filmed New York Post with those kind of clips.
I know, it's great.
You're just a content machine for them.
It is. You know what's so funny is one time Mika was. This is, I think, after we went to Mar-a-Lago and everybody was melting down. At one point, Mika was turning her eyes to look at the monitor to check her hair. And the camera caught her. I think it was the Daily Mail or the New York Post or somebody going, Mika enraged at Joe and da-da-da. And I said to her, okay. I said, that's pretty funny when you can just like check your hair and it's a headline. So,
I would check my hair, but I'm doing a startup and I'm losing most of it.
It's looking good.
Thank you, mate. I wake up every day thinking we live in some of the weirdest and potentially the dumbest times. I mean, what has been going on the political landscape?
Right.
You know, the National Guard is now on the streets of multiple states and has been. You've got talk of the Insurrection Act, litigation against media companies.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal are pushing back. Others have folded like a cheap suit. How do you see what's going on? I mean, you've been around, you have this unique viewpoint. It's kind of why we wanted you on, from the intersection of media and politics and culture.
Right.
But, how do you see things that are going on?
I think the most important thing we can do, and it's taken a while to figure it out, we got to keep our heads. My dad would always go around and he would quote, Rudyard Kipling, if you can keep your head, that's what we need to do. We need to keep it all in perspective. This morning, when we were on, the president tweeted, named some more people that needed to be arrested. And, we need to talk about that because that's abnormal. But at the same time, you always have to ask, what's he trying to distract from? And before, people thought he was trying to distract from Epstein. Right now, we're in the middle of a government shutdown, where for the first time in a very long time, the debate is not on the issue that Donald Trump wants the debate to be on. He loves the government shutdown. He loves, doing the memes. He loves the attacks on Schumer and
say some workers are going to get paid back
and doing all these things that will draw the reaction. Oh my God, I'm shocked. That's so horrible. And, all the catastrophizing, they really feed off that, and that really he draws political power from that because a lot of his base is just like they want to see the libs owned. But you have to ask yourself, in this situation, they've shut down the government. Now the debate's on health care. Right? And this isn't like owning the libs.
Right.
Republicans are owning their own constituents. As we showed this morning, Patty Murray, Senator, talked about it on the Senate floor yesterday. The top 10 states that are getting screwed are all red states. In fact, you look at the top 10 states who are getting screwed the most by the big, beautiful bill when you talk about health care cuts. They're all the reddest of the red states. There's almost like a direct correlation between how much they voted for Donald Trump and how much they're getting screwed out of health care money. So, maybe you try to distract over here so the debate's not on health care. If Democrats actually debate health care, they win. If they debate crime, they lose because Democrats, for some reason, can't figure out how to argue themselves out of the corner with crime. By the way, here's how you do it. We like police officers. We like cops on our streets. We like them coming from our community. We like more police officers at our kids' schools. We like Democrats need to learn how to say that. It ain't hard. And you look at a city.
Where is that party at? I mean,
I don't know where they're at.
Yeah.
It's not hard. They keep stumbling over the same thing. It's the same thing with trans athletes. Like, I remember like a year ago, I brought that up. Everybody's like, I was like, you all can relax. 85% of Americans don't think that men who transition post-puberty should be able to compete against women, against young women, against girls. So this is not a close call. So Democrats need to figure out, how do we balance this? How can we be compassionate to those who have transitioned, those who want to compete in sports, and be fair? These are two values that we are going to hold equally together, and we're going to work, and would rather work with Republicans and independents and Democrats in getting there than trying to vilify one side or the other. It's not hard. They need to learn how to do that.
You left the GOP in 2017,
right?
But your politics still lean conservative. And some.
By the way, don't tell
on some fundamentals.
No, I'm conservative. Don't tell the New York Post because it's always Lefty Joe Scarborough calls for 30 years of balanced budgets. Lefty Joe Scarborough.
They must just have that F4 ready to go.
No,
anytime there's a Joe Scarborough story.
I will say the most conservative thing, and it'll be like Lefty Joe Scarborough says we must, So
do you see any future for a post-Trump center-right movement in America?
Sure. This is the thing people don't understand, I guess, about American politics when you're just right on it. Americans don't understand this. They always think that the party will forever be controlled
by one
person. Like Ronald Reagan. When Ronald Reagan was president, when he was winning 49 states, Republicans were like, wow, we've really cracked this code. No, they didn't. Bill Clinton, he gets elected, and then Democrats start thinking, we can say anything. We can get away with anything. No. Bill Clinton could do it. Reagan's magic wasn't transferable to Republicans. Clinton's political magic, not true. Same thing with Barack Obama. You remember 2008, he wins. We hear about it's going to be a generational change. There's going to be this coalition of the ascendant. Democrats are never going to lose again. And
I kind of remember something changing the history books.
2 years later. 2 years later, the Tea Party. And then the Tea Party said, we're here for 2 years later. Barack Obama wins again. There's always this back and forth. Donald Trump is unique in the Republican Party. And so think about it. Donald Trump won in 2016. Republicans lost in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Donald Trump lost 20. They lost in 21. They lost in 22. They lost in 23. Donald Trump won in 24. We'll see what happens in 26. But we saw what happened, like, for instance, with the Wisconsin Supreme Court race where Elon Musk put tens of millions. They got crushed. They're losing these off-year elections, and that's because what works for Donald Trump doesn't work for the rest of the Republican Party. So at some point, if the Republican Party wants to win elections, they're going to have to figure out, like, how to appeal to people that they're not appealing to right now, that only Donald Trump for some reason can appeal to.
Do you think he's moved past the Epstein stuff? Because that was something he was trying to distract for some time. The base just seemed fixated on that for quite some time.
Hard to say. Yeah, I mean, you never know what's gonna come back up. Like Pam Bondi didn't look good yesterday when she wouldn't answer what she should be a very basic question about it. I mean, I think the real question about it is that I think is so curious about Donald Trump and Epstein is most people assume that if there had been something in the files that was really damning about Donald Trump, maybe Joe Biden wouldn't have leaked it.
Right.
Maybe Kamala Harris. Right. Maybe the Attorney General wouldn't have. But there would have been somebody in the Justice Department, somebody in the FBI that would have gotten that and would have sent it to somebody like you or somebody at the Times.
Please, if you do have those files, send them
right
over
here,
to
right
Breaker
here.
at BreakerMedia.com. We're manning that tip line 24/7.
Exactly. If you have the picture of Donald Trump, like with the Martian. Exactly.
Yeah, sure. We'll take that too.
Send it. But you know what I'm saying. That's what really doesn't make sense. And people say, well, he's trying to protect his friends. Donald Trump doesn't protect friends.
Does he have any friends?
I mean, of course, I'm sure he does, but not when it comes to protecting them. So that's the big question mark. And I really don't know the answer to that. Maybe it's answered later on. But I just don't think there's ever going to be a smoking gun on Donald Trump and Epstein, simply because if there were one,
it would have come out by now.
Somebody would have leaked it to the New York Times in 2021.
Breaker Media didn't exist back then.
Didn't, exactly.
I think one of the most concerning things that has happened of late is sort of this attack on free speech. We saw that with Jimmy Kimmel. Right. Trump even the other night, I think it was Sunday night, was calling for an FCC investigation into MSNBC after some remarks Al Sharpton had made.
That's a very good picture of Al Sharpton.
On Sunday.
You forget Retro Al, right? I called him after that came out. I said, that's a sweet tracksuit you were wearing, Rev.
He does wear a good tracky, Dak.
He does laughing.
But that, it's the chilling effect. Is that something that you are concerned about? I mean, Disney pulling Kimmel again. I could put him back on.
Listen, here's the deal. I mean, it's so short-sighted. So what happens? You go after Stephen Colbert, right? Paramount wants the merger to go through.
Right.
You go after Stephen Colbert. Take Stephen Colbert off, and what happens? They sign Trey Parker and Matt Stone,
who've been dominating
billions of dollars, who do things that are 8,000 times worse than Stephen Colbert would ever do. It's the number one streaming thing on Paramount at all times. It's the number one thing. I mean, those clips are beyond viral. So it's always whack-a-mole. So let's say you get Jimmy Kimmel. And you get Jimmy Fallon, you get everybody off. What have you done? You have now created the opportunity for them to create something on YouTube where they can South Park you every day. I have a big theory that I've always told people, whether it's in politics, whether it's in media, whatever. It's always beware the man with nothing to lose. You think, we're going to pound this person? No. Beware the man with nothing to lose. So you take them off of a situation where Brendan Carr, the FCC, nobody has any oversight, and you take them over to YouTube? And you think that's a win?
Right.
No, you are actually taking them from the era of Eastman Kodak film.
Right.
And you are putting them now to, iPhone whatever 87s we're at right now, 17s, where you're moving them into the future and you're giving them a license to say whatever the fuck they want to say, to be as brutal as they want to say, and like it doesn't work.
Right.
So am I worried about it? Well, I'm worried that people are stupid enough to think that it would work in America.
You certainly haven't felt that pressure. You know, you seem to be, unleashed every morning. I think what is brilliant about your show as well is that the range of voices that you have on.
Right.
It was made a remark today that Major Taylor Greene is almost the voice of reason.
Right.
You know, in this environment. Would you
Right.
ever consider having someone like her or
Well,
Laura
of course.
Loomer or someone that is kind of considered pretty radical just to be able to stress test their views and also sort of air their views and prosecute their views in an environment like your show?
Well, I mean, the one thing and we communicate with the White House all the time. And the one thing that we said at the beginning of this second Trump term with people in the White House is, listen, we'd like to have you guys on. We're not interested in viral moments. So if you're going to come on and like insult us, just don't waste our time.
Right.
But if you think we're being unfair to you, whether we're being unfair on the budget or whether we're being unfair on your policing, whether we're being unfair, bring somebody on. We'll have a polite, respectful conversation. And that's happened. We've had Tom Holman on several times. Never got him to crack a smile yet. I don't think I'm going to. But, we asked.
Is that man capable of cracking
No, I don't think
smile?
so. We asked tough questions. He gave tough answers. We had the head of the Republican conference on this past week. We have members from the administration on. So, we invite everybody on. But again, we're not going to have people on to create a viral moment.
Right.
In fact,
media can get their own photo. The New York Post can find
exactly.
their own material.
In fact, when Pablo Torre, who's
brilliant.
We love Pablo. Had him on. When he came on, we had him on a couple times, and I said, hey, listen, we haven't had a chance to talk. Love having you on. Just want to tell you, you're doing an amazing job. Just want you to know, we don't want to go viral. So if you ever think, if you ever feel the pressure to do something, to try a little bit more, it's like, I'm going to tell you something that you don't hear anybody else. Like, we don't want to go viral. We're a 4-hour show. It's the long play. We want to keep the conversation going. And he's like, you are right. I've never heard that from anybody in media. So, but that's kind of where we are. So yeah, we want to have Republicans on. We of course want to keep having people in the administration on. We want to keep having that conversation, even when we strongly disagree with what's going on.
Did you have Trump back on?
Yeah, at some point.
You guys still talk?
We do. Yeah, we do.
Can you give me any insight into what was the last chinwag?
Yeah, I mean, we've known each other for a very long time. We talk and communicate, and I try to get insight on what's going on. And like, for instance, whether it's on Ukraine, I called him in the middle of the, I think after Anchorage, to call and say, what are you doing? What's going on? And of course, it's all, you all are so unfair. We go through that dance and everything. Why are you all so mean? Why are you so tough? Whatever. But then we talk, and I try to figure out, where's he going? What can I do that will help my viewers understand what's going on and what's coming up? And I think in that case, especially with Ukraine, that helped. Same thing with what's happening in the Middle East. Communicate with people in the administration. I talked to him, to see exactly what the plan was and try to figure out, what was the relationship with Netanyahu, what was the relationship with Qatar, where was it going? And of course, I never get, completely straight answers. No president's going to tell you, this is what I'm doing to da-da-da. But you certainly can get a read, and it helps me get insight.
You've had everyone on the show. You've had billionaires. You've had presidents, senators.
Right.
Who's the most impressive off-camera operator whose power we underestimate?
Couple of answers. I mean, I will say that this is going back a bit. I will say the one guy. We're talking like this, and we go through issues and talking there. The one guy whose eyes I looked into when we were talking issues, and I said, okay, he might be a little hard to keep up with. It was Bob Gates, Robert Gates, who actually worked for Dr. Brzezinski when he was younger, but became Secretary of Defense, CIA director. Really brilliant guy. I will say there are a couple other people. Reverend Al.
In his tracky dacks.
In his tracksuits. Reverend Al has been a real surprise to me where he's on TV, he's got his deal on TV, but when he's off TV, he's a great political operator. Just as far as he understands how Washington works. He understands how the civil rights movement works. He understands. So, yeah, he's been very, very impressive as far as media figures and understanding, again, how politics works. Jim Vandehei, of course, is, I met Jim when he was when we were both very young in Congress, and Jim's, he's like you. He's an entrepreneur.
Well, mate, this has been an absolute privilege and a pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
What part? Thank you so much. Are we getting the hook already here?
They're giving us one of these. I had a bunch of more
questions. Can we have some bonus questions here? Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do a couple of bonus questions.
Are you scared? Have I screwed up yet?
Thank
you. Do you have a work?
He's getting a martini ready for lunchtime. I think we got to heartburn on a couple of these. So we mentioned
Mika will always say, "This is when I get in trouble." When I say, "Just give me two more questions."
You mentioned the Barry Weiss situation, CBS, huge deal. Talk about a startup. 150 million it's been reported for, what is the subset? When we talked about media disruption and we talked about, thinking outside of, other places. I think that's part of what is going on with Versant. How do you view that deal, and how do you view someone like Barry Weiss, who doesn't have broadcast experience, coming in to run CBS?
I mean, you look at Barry, she's an entrepreneur. Yeah. Look what she did with the Free Press. I mean, I think the challenge for Barry, and Barry doesn't need me to tell her the time. I've known Barry for a long time, got great respect for her entrepreneurial views. Barry came along with the Free Press at a time when people in the media were not saying what most Americans were saying. When sort of political correctness, or I hate to use the term wokeness, was really sort of at its
we were at the height of cancel culture then.
Right.
We were at the height
of cancel culture.
It was like a lynch mob every other day on Twitter.
And people were saying outrageous things, and nobody in the media was calling him on it. She started the Free Press, and the timing there was perfect because there was a great audience for that. I think the challenge is where is that audience going to be a year from now, 2 years? I'm not saying the anti-cancel culture, but where's the next opportunity? Where's the next cutting edge? And I think that's going to be the real challenge. It's also going to be very interesting just to see what her vision and where she takes CBS News. A lot of people think it's the best thing in the world. A lot of people think it's the end of journalism as we know it. I think we should wait and see.
It's funny how media people love to talk about media and navel gaze, and they have opinions on it. They want to sort of express those before it even started. I mean, you've been on both sides, member of Congress, cable host. Right. Which felt closer to actual power?
I think there's actually, weirdly enough, there's more power in media. I think in politics, it's the way Madison and Hamilton wanted to be. It's dispersed. It's all over the place, right? There have been times since I got into TV where I would get a call when I was a Republican. People would say, "Hey, would like for you to run for the Senate in your state," whatever state I was living in at the time. Moved around a few times. And, everybody I talked to would always end up saying, "No, there's only one of you. Like, there's one Morning Joe. There's that platform. Why would you want to be the 99th ranking senator in the minority?" And so
I think you could also hold power to account more doing this than doing...
Again, because there's so many, the voices are fewer. Now, that said, what I feel more natural doing, what I do feel more fulfilled doing, I mean, it was serving. Serving in Congress was was just a great honor. I love what I'm doing because I love the people that I'm doing it with. I love our Morning Joe team. But public service, man, that was not because of power, but because you could help people. And I would get on the planes and people would grab my arm and they'd say, "You saved my parents' farm. You know, my daughter couldn't get back for her grandmother's funeral. Your office called the State Department and got her in the country in time." Like, there were a lot of different opportunities like that. And so when people come up to me and they go, "Oh, I bet you hated being in Congress," I'm like, no, that was like the honor. It's one of the great honors of my professional life.
The Republican Party that you were part of in the 90s doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Is the same to be said about the Democratic Party?
I don't know what the Democratic Party is right now. There's a reason why they have a 24, 25% approval rating. What are they? What do they stand for? What are they willing to fight for? I think a lot of that got kind of jumbled up in the 1990s when you had, and I'm not knocking him, this is what Republicans would want, but when you had sort of Robert Rubin Democrats taking over the party of Bill Clinton, you had a lot of working class people that lost a home. It doesn't make sense that billionaires are getting massive tax cuts, that multinational corporations are getting massive tax cuts, that Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk have been getting massive tax cuts. And when Democrats were in power, they had a chance to carried interest loophole. They had a chance to raise taxes on billionaires. They had a chance to try to make things more equitable and, get working class tax cut, middle class tax cuts, healthcare tax cuts for entrepreneurs, tax cuts for business startups. Yeah. I mean, that's what grows this country. We have a top-heavy economy right now. Most of the GDP growth is coming from the billionaires, coming from the very top. The Democratic Party needs to be the party that fights like hell to bring that back up. That's one of the reasons why, when Bernie and AOC go out and look at all those people, it's one of the reasons why. People want a Democratic Party that's willing to fight for working class Americans, and right now they're not doing it.
Joe Scarborough, thank you very much.
All right.
I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
We will be back next Thursday with the Breaker Pod. You can watch this pod on YouTube, listen to it on Spotify, Apple, everywhere you get your pods. Subscribe to Breaker at breakermedia.com. That's breakermedia.com. And we'll see you next week. Cheers.